Chapter 81. The appearance of the blood coagulation powder was like a fierce storm, taking on a thunderous momentum. It quickly seized 50% of the wound medicine market sales, allowing the Xiao clan's market area to recover its former popularity in just 2 days. It was even more popular than before. On the second day, the blood coagulation powder was sold. The XiaoYan clan's rejuvenation powder also gradually reduced its price back to the original, but the previous price gouging behavior had alienated most of the mercenaries. Therefore, even though the XiaoYan clan reduced the price, the popularity in their market area found it difficult to return to its previous bustling state. Because Wutan City is close to the magical beast mountain range, the number of mercenaries in the city is very large, and the magical beast mountain range is fraught with danger. Therefore, the mercenaries' demand for wound medicine is extremely huge. Thus, even though the Xiao clan seized more than half of the wound medicine market, the XiaoYan clan was still making a profit, but the current profit, compared to the previous period, was only half. The wound medicine sales were so explosive, exceeding the expectations of the Xiao clan, who were doing this kind of business for the first time. In the morning, it would be bought by the mercenaries who were already waiting there, and by the afternoon, the wound medicine in the market area would be almost entirely sold out. Some mercenaries who could not buy the blood coagulation powder, having no other choice, could only go to the XiaoYan clan's market area to buy the lower quality rejuvenation powder. With the great demand for wound medicine from the mercenaries, the XiaoYan clan was considered to have held its ground against this fierce offensive from the Xiao clan. The situation from now on depended on who had more remaining medicine. Sitting in the main hall, XiaoYan looked with some helplessness at XiaoYan, who could not stop smiling. He glanced at the 3 elders, who also wore smiling expressions. The joyous laughter had never stopped in the main hall. The main reason for this was that XiaoYan, disguised as the black-robed person, had quietly delivered another batch of blood coagulation powder in the morning. The sales of the blood coagulation powder are truly too strong. If the old master doesn't deliver another batch, I fear our warehouse will be empty. XiaoYan held a green bottle and said with a triumphant smile. Indeed, in just 2 short days, the popularity of the market area has more than doubled compared to its previous peak. The previous losses are also being gradually compensated. Adding in the profit from the wound medicine sales these days, it can be compared to 1 or 2 months of the Xiao clan's profit from before. The first elder, whose nature was always steady, could not help but speak more because of such a large profit. The wrinkles on his face were like a blooming chrysanthemum. This sentence is a bit exaggerated. XiaoYan nodded with a smile. He turned to look at the bored XiaoYan and couldn't help but scold, "You brat, every time the old master comes to the clan, you are nowhere to be seen. Can't you just stay home and not go anywhere?" Unjustly scolded, XiaoYan rolled his eyes helplessly. He muttered in his heart, "If I don't go, where do you expect to get the wound medicine from? This old master is truly too generous. Fortunately, I asked about the necessary medicinal ingredients. The medicinal ingredients from now on, let us handle them. The Xiao clan has already received many benefits from him. If we are insatiably greedy, I fear the gains won't compensate for the losses." XiaoYan took out a piece of paper and said thoughtfully. The 3 elders all nodded to XiaoYan's words. If XiaoYan hadn't mentioned it, they would have truly forgotten this matter. To be able to remain clear-headed despite such large immediate profits. Not bad. No wonder your father can be the clan leader. In XiaoYan's mind, Yao Lao's voice of praise rang out. Smiling and nodding, XiaoYan also felt a little relieved. Although he could assist the Xiao clan a little materially, the most important thing for a clan to be strong was the clan leader's ability. If the clan leader lacked ability, to speak harshly, no matter how great XiaoYan's divine abilities were, he couldn't plaster a pile of ashes onto a wall. But it seemed now, XiaoYan clearly possessed that kind of ability. Clan leader, 3 elders, Miss Yafei of the Maitel auction house is waiting outside the clan gate. Just as XiaoYan was feeling happy, a clan member quickly walked into the main hall, bowing respectfully. Yafei. Hearing this, XiaoYan was startled. He immediately said, "Quickly invite her in." Not long after the clan member went out to report, a graceful figure slowly appeared before everyone's eyes. The sound of her soft laughter also reached the main hall. Clan leader Xiao is truly pleased recently. His head leaning slightly against the cold back of the chair, XiaoYan shifted his gaze to the main gate, slightly startled. His eyes were filled with astonishment. You are reading the story at Trien Full www.trienfull. Next to the main gate, a mature woman in a red dress stood smiling. The tight dress showed off her exquisite curves very clearly. Her waist was like a water snake, with graceful curves that made others crave them. The high slit of the dress extended up to her thigh. As she walked, glimpses of white skin dazzled others. Her alluring figure was faintly visible, shocking the heart and soul. Demonis. Looking at the mature, seductive smile emanating from this woman, the youth, the middle-aged man, and the 3 old men, 1 youth, 1 middle-aged, 3 old men, in the main hall all subconsciously muttered. Ahem. Clearing his throat, XiaoYan stood up smiling. He said politely, "Miss Yafei is joking. The Xiao clan's profit in 1 year is still less than 1 branch of the Maitel auction house. How could we have any right to be pleased? Haha, clan leader Xiao is being humble. The recent popularity of your market area has surpassed that of the auction house. This is something everyone knows, ah." Yafei chuckled. She curtsied to the 3 elders. Her eyelashes subtly blinked. Her captivating eyes shifted to XiaoYan. She said with a slight surprise, "It seems young Master XiaoYan's current state is a bit stronger than before. Sister Yafei can just call me by my name." Those words, young master, sound very frightening. XiaoYan said with a look of pure innocence. This form of address made him feel uncomfortable all over. Hearing this, Yafei nodded. "May I ask what brought Miss Yafei to the Xiao clan today?" XiaoYan asked, smiling in inquiry. Yafei smiled and nodded. She elegantly sat down on the chair opposite XiaoYan. She moistened her lips and spoke directly to the point with a faint smile. "Clan leader Xiao, the Maitel auction house has refused to supply medicinal ingredients to the Jialai clan." As soon as the words left her mouth, the teacup in XiaoYan's hand instantly spilled quite a bit onto the table. A look of wild joy rose in his eyes. He subtly wiped the spilled tea. His eyes glanced at the 3 elders, finding that they also emitted a similar light. The main hall was slightly silent. XiaoYan drank the remaining tea in his cup in 1 gulp. He hesitated and said, "Why? Haven't you always maintained neutrality?" Yafei smiled without speaking. Biting his teeth, XiaoYan whispered, "What do you want us to pay for doing this?" "We don't need anything," Yafei said with a calm smile. "Ah?" Stunned again, XiaoYan looked at the smiling Yafei with disbelief. He didn't believe the Maitel auction house would help them attack the Jialai clan. Rubbing his chin, XiaoYan's heart suddenly trembled. He asked tentatively, "Was it the old master who did it?" Licking her red lips, Yafei slightly nodded. She smiled and said, "The old master has already paid his due, so clan leader Xiao doesn't need to worry about what we want from the Xiao clan. From now on, consider us to be on the same side." Hearing this, a look of wild joy finally appeared on XiaoYan's face. He let out several loud laughs that caused the entire room to shake slightly. Slowly restraining his laughter, XiaoYan suddenly realized he was too smug. He lowered his head, and indeed saw the 3 elders awkwardly pouting. Smiling sheepishly, XiaoYan looked at XiaoYan, who was covering his face and chuckling, and shouted in embarrassment and anger, "You little brat, stop laughing. Quickly serve tea to Miss Yafei. Be polite." Rolling his eyes helplessly, XiaoYan reached for a teacup from the side table. He then walked clumsily to Yafei and presented the cup with both hands. Yafei smiled gently at XiaoYan and accepted the teacup. Her face suddenly changed. She stared intently at XiaoYan's fair hands, or rather at the black ring on his right hand. Looking at Yafei's gaze, XiaoYan frowned. He subtly retracted his hand. With his back turned to his father and the others, he narrowed his eyes and looked at the beautiful woman in front of him. Stared at so intently by XiaoYan, Yafei was nervous in her heart. She then very tactfully bowed her head and took a sip of tea. The expression on her face was also extremely well concealed by her. Seeing this woman's compliant action, XiaoYan let out a breath. He rubbed his nose and reluctantly returned to his seat, frowning as if contemplating something. After talking with XiaoYan and the others for a while, Yafei was about to take her leave. XiaoYan, who had been silent all this time, now showed the enthusiasm of a host. Under XiaoYan's satisfied gaze, he saw Yafei off outside the clan. Walking out of the clan's main gate, XiaoYan showed no sign of returning. He walked beside Yafei with his hands clasped behind his head. His eyes were narrowed, and he didn't seem to be thinking about anything. Walking with XiaoYan, Yafei felt a little nervous in her heart. Her jade hands were tightly clenched and covered in sweat. She had an excellent memory. At the auction house last time, she had coincidentally seen the hands of the mysterious black-robed alchemist, fair and full of vitality like a youth's hands. Furthermore, on those fair hands, he wore a black ring identical to XiaoYan's. With this coincidence and thinking about why the mysterious alchemist was so partial to the Xiao clan, some questions nearly slipped out of her mouth. Biting her lip softly, Yafei's eyes subtly glanced at the youth beside her. The youth wore an inexpensive green shirt. His body was sturdy, and his face was delicate. Although he looked a bit youthful, the faint smile on his face made him seem unlike a naive youth. After meticulously assessing XiaoYan for a while, Yafei still found it hard to believe that the person at the auction house, who made her and Gu Ni so respectful, was just a delicate youth of only about 17. "Have you looked enough?" Just as Yafei smiled bitterly with some helplessness, the youth beside her spoke faintly. Slowing her steps, Yafei sighed softly, "You. Should I call you old master, or little brother Xiao Yan?" XiaoYan frowned. He suddenly jerked his chin towards one side, "Go there." Yafei followed his gaze. Her face couldn't help but blush. The place XiaoYan pointed to was, surprisingly, a famous dating spot for lovers in Wuten City. Slightly hesitating, Yafei was about to suggest another location, but XiaoYan had already walked in swaggering, and sat down on the stone bench under the shade of a large tree. Towards the action that contrasted with his previous polite demeanor in the clan, Yafei could only shake her head helplessly. This transformation of identity was too fast, wasn't it? Her steps subtly moved. She slowly walked forward and sat down opposite XiaoYan. Her captivating eyes carefully assessed the youth in front of her. "You recognized me?" Reaching out and plucking a leaf to chew in his mouth, XiaoYan asked vaguely. Yafei's jade hand brushed the leaf that fell onto her head. Her natural charm made a man not far away stare blankly. She pursed her red lips and said with a bitter laugh, "I truly wish I could believe I guessed wrong." Hearing this, XiaoYan's eyes narrowed. His teeth fiercely bit into the leaf. "You're not planning to kill me to silence me, are you?" Seeing XiaoYan's appearance, Yafei said with a hint of fear, but a look of mischief flashed in her captivating eyes. "I'm planning to ravish you and then dispose of the body," XiaoYan said maliciously. Hearing these somewhat crude words, Yafei's face flushed. She glared at him charmingly and scolded, "Where did a young child learn such bad things?" Pouting, XiaoYan twisted his waist. Since his identity was exposed, he wouldn't beat around the bush. "The black-robed person who conducted business with you before was indeed me. But the one who refined the pills must not be you." Yafei's eyes shifted. She laughed and said that she wasn't foolish. She was very clear about XiaoYan's strength. Even if he was an alchemist, given his personal strength, he couldn't refine pills like the qi-gathering pill. A woman who is too smart isn't liked by men. Glancing at Yafei, who had guessed 80 or 90% of the truth, XiaoYan pursed his mouth and said, "You are reading the story at Tree Full www. Tree Full. That's only the opinion of common men." Yafei frowned. A hint of disdain was in her voice. Rolling his eyes, XiaoYan didn't argue with her over this boring issue. Chewing the leaf in his mouth, he said indifferently, "You should know why I sought you out. My identity must be kept secret. This will be beneficial to everyone." Licking his lips, XiaoYan glanced at the charming beauty in front of him. "Of course, don't mistake this for my weakness. Otherwise, your loss will outweigh your gains. Do I look like the kind of foolish, large-chested, brainless woman?" Yafei innocently waved her hand. XiaoYan stared intently at her ample bosom. After a moment he nodded, "Your chest is indeed very large. Unfortunately, whether you have a brain or not remains to be seen in your future actions. Being taken advantage of by a youth several years younger, Yafei could only laugh awkwardly and shake her head. Ignoring XiaoYan's dual identity, his appearance alone made it difficult for others to bear ill will towards him. "So, what about our cooperation?" Yafei stared intently at XiaoYan with a hint of nervousness. This was the question she wanted to ask most. "As before, you refused to supply medicinal ingredients to the Jiaolai clan, and I will pay you 5 qi-gathering pills as compensation." Shrugging, XiaoYan's faint voice made Yafei let out a breath. I highly anticipate our cooperation." Yafei stretched out her hand generously and smiled calmly. Reluctantly nodding, XiaoYan held her soft, jade-like hand. But contrary to Yafei's expectation, he let go immediately after touching it. Looking at the unpredictable actions of the youth in front of him, Yafei couldn't help but sigh. "It truly makes people wonder if you are really only 17. I find myself constantly being led by the nose by you." Ignoring this topic, XiaoYan waved his hand, stood up and walked out. As he walked he said, "In future meetings, you should maintain your previous attitude, so no one notices anything amiss." Smiling and nodding, Yafei said softly, "When you have free time, you are welcome to invite that alchemist to be a guest at the Meitel auction house. We will always welcome him." Slowing his steps, XiaoYan rubbed his nose and said vaguely, "We'll talk when I'm free." Waving his hand again, XiaoYan left resolutely, without any hesitation. Standing still, watching the youth slowly walk away, Yafei laughed bitterly and shook her head. She whispered, "He truly is a little demon. I don't understand why that Nalan clan girl cancelled the engagement with him. Alas, Nalan Su will probably regret it until he spits blood later." The market aftermath. Less than a month after the blood coagulation powder was sold, the Xiao clan had seized 70% of the wound medicine market share. The immense profit brought joy throughout the Xiao clan. The previously scarce crowd was now endless, bustling like a small town. Compared to the Xiao clan, the Jiaolai clan was gloomy. Due to their previous price-gouging behavior, most mercenaries resented them. Furthermore, the Xiao clan's blood coagulation powder was significantly more effective than the rejuvenation powder. Therefore, the Jiaolai clan's wound medicine business was suppressed by the Xiao clan to the point where it couldn't move. If the Xiao clan's wound medicine supply weren't limited, the Xiaolai clan would likely only be able to drink thin porridge. Although the wound medicine business was suppressed, the profit was still not small. The thing that troubled the Xiaolai clan most was the large quantity of medicinal ingredients required for alchemy. The Meitel auction house, the largest resource hub in the city, had refused to cooperate with them. Towards this blockade of medicinal ingredients, the Xiaolai clan was so angry they ground their teeth. However, no matter how angry they were, they dared not coerce the Meitel auction house. They had to know that the power behind the Meitel auction house was one of the top powerful forces in the Jiama Empire. A small clan in Wuten City did not have the guts to provoke them. Since the auction house route was closed, the Xiaolai clan had no choice but to buy all medicinal ingredients in the pharmacies of Wuten City at several times the market price. Even so, this was only a temporary measure. After all, these small pharmacies did not have the capacity to continuously supply such a large quantity of medicinal ingredients. Moreover, the most important point was that everyone in Wuten City saw the hostility and killing intent between the Xiaolai clan and the Xiao clan. Helping the Xiaolai clan at this time would undoubtedly offend the Xiao clan. Therefore, after the initial supply to the Xiaolai clan, many pharmacies no longer dared to supply such a large quantity. This action further added to the Xiaolai clan's troubles, like adding frost to snow. Since then, the Xiaolai clan's supply of medicinal ingredients was nearly cut off by 80%. The remaining 20% was insufficient to meet the demand for refining wound medicine. Therefore, the Xiaolai clan, having no other choice, could only buy medicinal ingredients from other cities at a high price. Only by doing this could they barely resolve the crisis of insufficient medicinal ingredients. But because of this, the Xiaolai clan's profit once again declined. If not for the accumulated profits from before supporting them, the Xiaolai clan would likely have gone bankrupt long ago. Wuten City now saw the Xiao clan, riding the momentum of the wound medicine, rising in status, even showing signs of surpassing the other two major clans. In the noisy market area, XiaoYan walked leisurely along the intersection. Behind him, 7 or 8 strong men wearing the uniform of the Xiao clan's guards followed. Without exception, these strong men all had for gold stars on their chests. Clearly, these strong men all had the strength of at least a 4-star Dou practitioner. The flow of people on the street was quite fierce. Many fierce mercenaries, whose bodies exuded a bloody scent, smiled amicably when they saw the young man with his hands clasped behind his head. Some familiar ones even loudly joked, "Little market master, out for a stroll again?" Every time he heard this kind of address, XiaoYan would purse his lips with a hint of helplessness, then let out a soft sigh. Half a month ago, XiaoYan suddenly ordered him to manage this market area. This action of XiaoYan's caused a long debate within the Xiao clan. Managing a market area at just over 10 years old was unprecedented in the Xiao clan. But remembering that XiaoYan was not the same as before, some people could only agree. Therefore, XiaoYan, who was resting and relaxing in the clan, had to come here. Although the market area was very large, what pleased XiaoYan was that the management wasn't too tiring. He left some of the busier intersections and the pricing of some popular areas to the old butler specifically sent by his father. Every day, he would casually bring a group of strong men to inspect and manage the safety issues in the market area. His life was quite stable and carefree. XiaoYan's seemingly calm and indifferent personality was actually extremely fond of talking with the mercenaries about the exciting adventures and risks of their missions. Strange magical beasts and some isolated caves where former powerhouses left behind techniques, these things ignited the adventurous blood in XiaoYan's body. He wished he could immediately venture deep into the forest to find those powerful and mysterious techniques and Dou skills. XiaoYan was young, and his delicate, youthful face naturally made people reluctant to bear ill will towards him. Furthermore, whenever he was happy, he would take out a pile of wound medicine and give it to others. Therefore, this made the generous mercenary strong men have a very good impression of him. Over time, this market area's number of regulars was almost the highest among the Xiao clan's market areas. Recalling the events of the past half-month, XiaoYan sighed with emotion. This kind of life wouldn't last long, At most, in a little over a month, he would go out for practical training with Yao Lao. After that, he feared he wouldn't return for 1 or 2 years. Throwing the melancholy in his heart away, XiaoYan raised his head. A figure who was slightly thin and short suddenly ran over from the crowd. Stopping his steps, XiaoYan looked at this small, thin man. He raised his eyebrows and said faintly, "Keilu, why aren't you out doing your great, money-making business? Why are you coming to me?" The short, thin man in front of him was the famous Golden Hand in the market area. He was a thief. XiaoYan did not intend to completely eliminate people who made a living in the shadows like this. He clearly knew in his heart that everything had 2 sides. Although this profession was looked down upon by everyone, the information they provided was extremely reliable. No matter what happened in Wuten City, they could know a little about it. "Heh, little young master." The short, thin man named Keilu laughed obsequiously at XiaoYan, and said with a flattering smile, "Your subordinate came here to report a matter to you. Just now, I heard my subordinates say that Miss Huan Ni and a few others were accosted by a man outside the market area." Your subordinate immediately rushed to report. Yes, Jiaolai Ao of the Jiaolai clan is also there. It seems he knows that man. And they have quite a few people. XiaoYan narrowed his eyes. His previously indifferent face slowly turned icy cold. He turned his head and said softly, "Xiaoli, gather our people. Gather everyone who's available." "Yes." A strong man replied respectfully. He then quickly turned around and ran deeper into the market area. "Lead the way." Turning his head, XiaoYan jerked his chin at Keilu and said faintly, "You are reading the story at https://truyanful.vn." Seeing XiaoYan's face suddenly turn cold, Keilu quickly nodded. He didn't dare to say anything more and hurriedly led the way in front. "These bastards, they dare to mess around in the territory of my Xiao clan. If I, XiaoYan, let you leave safely today, then I don't need to be the market master anymore." Licking his lips, XiaoYan said softly with a chill, making Keilu in front of him shiver. He quickened his pace even more. Lushi was very excited now, and the reason for his excitement was the beautiful girl in green standing not far away. The girl wore an elegant green outfit. Her exquisite face was completely unadorned, completely natural. Her hair was tied back with a green ribbon, just long enough to reach her waist. A light breeze blew, and her hair subtly fluttered, extremely captivating. On the girl's slender waist, a purple belt subtly revealed her graceful curves very clearly. Even the eyes of passers-by couldn't help but secretly glance at her. They secretly wondered what kind of enjoyment it would be to hold such a slender waist in their arms. Lu Shi's eyes burned as he looked at the girl. His hands slightly trembled with excitement. The elegant girl in front of him was completely different from the women he had played with before. Her otherworldly aura, like a lotus flower, truly made Lu Shi, who loved women, instantly crave her. His gaze swept over Xiaoning, who had just been knocked down by his palm. Lu Shi smiled and said, "You need some skill to be a bodyguard. You are still far too weak." Mocked by Lu Shi, Xiaoning's face flushed with anger. His eyes were bloodshot as he looked at the person in front of him. He gritted his teeth, looking like he hated that he couldn't rush up and bite him. "Xiaoning, step back. You are not his match." Xiao Yu's face was somewhat icy cold. She took a step forward and shouted softly, You are reading the story at https://truyenful.vn. Xiao Ning gritted his teeth. He considered the strength of both sides. He could only retreat unwillingly. Losing face in front of the girl he liked made him want to die from shame. Lu Shi's gaze swept back and forth over Xiao Yu, finally settling on her long, alluring legs. He couldn't help but praise, another top grade woman. It seems my luck is good today. Brother Lu Shi, they are all from the Xiao clan. This woman is named Xiao Yu, but her temper is too spicy. A man without skill cannot tame her. XiaoYan walked up smiling subtly. He said with a lewd chuckle. The spicier, the better the taste. Lu Shi's eyes glanced at the girl in green again. A light flashed in his pupils. And this girl, what is her name? Seeing Lu Shi set his sights on the person he liked, the corner of XiaoYan's mouth twitched slightly. After inwardly cursing this arrogant bastard who was filled with lust, he reluctantly replied, her name is XiaoYan. A very beautiful name. Lu Shi smiled and nodded. He stopped wasting words on XiaoYan. He took 2 steps forward, feigning a gentlemanly posture. He smiled and said, I am Lu Shi. May I invite the 2 young ladies to stroll around the market area? If there is anything here that the 2 young ladies fancy, consider it all on me. As he spoke, Lu Shi subtly lowered his hand, showing off his professional badge. On the badge there was an ancient cauldron. Outside the cauldron, a silver ripple faintly reflected an unusual light under the sunlight. A first-rank alchemist. Looking at the professional badge on Lu Shi's chest, the surrounding crowd exclaimed in surprise. These exclamations made the smile on Lu Shi's face deepen. Hearing the words first-rank alchemist, Xiao Yu's face subtly changed, but with her personality, she naturally wouldn't go strolling with this thief-like looking person. She immediately said coldly, I'm busy. Go find someone else. Finished speaking, she pulled Huan Ni and turned to leave. As soon as she turned around, several strong men rushed out of the crowd, blocking their path with lewd smiles. Looking at the strong men in front of them, Xiao Yu's face sank. She turned back and said coldly to XiaoYan, this is the territory of our Xiao clan. Aren't you being too arrogant? The Xiao clan. Are they very strong? They only rely on the blood coagulation powder to regain a little popularity. If I wanted to, I could easily cause great harm to your Xiao clan's vital energy. The rejuvenation powder is only something I made casually. Lu Shi waved his hand and said smugly. Hearing this, Xiao Yu's face was filled with anger. But she didn't curse back. She understood the true strength of an alchemist and didn't dare to say anything too harsh, to avoid bringing unnecessary trouble to the Xiao clan. Although Xiao Yu was worried about this matter, Huan Ni didn't care about such things. All she knew was that these human-shaped pieces of trash were delaying the time she could meet XiaoYan. Slightly raising her eyes, looking at Lu Shi's smug face, Huan Ni's mouth slightly opened. Her voice was soft and ethereal, but the content of her words stunned everyone. Trash will ultimately only be trash. Even if you cover yourself with the shell of an alchemist, you are still trash. A person like you, who shows off his little bit of skill, is, in Brother XiaoYan's words, an idiot. The street became quietly still. Many people were surprised. This elegant and captivating girl, when she cursed someone, was surprisingly no less fierce than others. Xiao Yu was also surprised as she looked at Huan Ni beside her. After a long while, she pouted and said, I told you long ago that you would be corrupted by that little brat. Publicly mocked by Huan Ni without any politeness, Lu Shi, who was already narrow-minded, slowly lost the smile on his face. He said gloomily, in all these years, you are the first person who dared to speak to me like that. Truly, a very idiotic sentence. Rubbing her forehead lightly, Huan Ni could now confirm that the person in front of her, if not an idiot, was simply too self-absorbed. XiaoYan, attack. I originally intended to use some subtle means, but alas, she won't accept my kindness. Lu Shi waved his hand with a gloomy face and said coldly. Ah. XiaoYan was startled. He felt a slight headache. He laughed bitterly. In his heart, what is this fellow thinking? My father was right, aside from knowing how to refine medicine, he truly is useless. Damn it, how can a person like this become an alchemist? Sighing, XiaoYan could only force a dry laugh. Brother Lu Shi, our Xiaolai clan cannot afford to openly provoke the Xiao clan right now. The Xiao clan? Lu Shi laughed coldly and said with disdain. As long as I have her, I will help you deal with the Xiao clan. Besides the rejuvenation powder, I can refine 2 or 3 other kinds of pills. If I refine them, I will help you push the Xiao clan back to its previous predicament. Hearing this, XiaoYan was stunned again. He hadn't expected this person to so easily reveal his trump card. Joy filled his heart. Then he inwardly sighed, wondering if the less intelligent one was, the higher the chance of becoming an alchemist. XiaoYan waved his hand, capture them. Seeing XiaoYan speak, more than 10 strong men behind him immediately surrounded the 3 of Huan Ni fiercely. Seeing the opponent's arrogance, Xiaoyu was so angry that her eyebrows flared up. She laughed coldly. Her jade hand pulled out the green long whip from her waist and fiercely struck a strongman who was rushing forward. With a pause sound, a long red mark appeared on his face. Although Xiaoyu was a 3-star Dou practitioner, the more than 10 strong men of the opponent were also Dou practitioners. After knocking down 2 or 3 strong men, Xiaoyu gradually fell into a disadvantage, dodging somewhat clumsily. Knocking a strongman back with a bloody mouthful, Xiaoyu's face turned pale. She retreated a few steps. She turned her head and shouted at Xiaoning, "Take Huan Ni and leave. Call that little brat out." Xiaoning nodded hurriedly. His face suddenly changed. He shouted anxiously, "Sister, be careful." Hearing Xiaoning's warning, Xiaoyu quickly turned back. She saw the strongman she had whipped earlier raising a ferocious, iron fist, fiercely striking towards her chest. Seeing this fellow use such a vile attack on a woman's body, Xiaoyu's face turned slightly blue and black. With anger, Dou Qi condensed in her hand. Just as she was about to strike back fiercely, a black figure quickly appeared beside her. A fierce wind from the attack struck the strong man's face. The great force directly made his face bloody. He rolled several times on the ground before stopping. Severely wound everyone who dared to lay a hand on them. The youth held a steel rod in his hand. His eyes glanced coldly at Lu Shi and XiaoYan in front of him. He slightly parted his lips. In his faint voice, there was a trace of coldness. Hearing the youth's voice, more than 10 strong men holding iron rods, looking fierce like wolves and tigers, walked out of the crowd. Facing more than 10 4-star Dou practitioners holding iron rods in their hands, the few guards who were swaggering earlier instantly turned pale. Before they could even flee, a pitch-black iron rod struck fiercely. After just a moment, miserable screams echoed throughout the intersection. Coldly glancing at XiaoYan, XiaoYan turned back to look at Xiaoyu, whose face was flushed with anger. His tone softened slightly. "Are you all right? Next time you come here, give me a warning. Beforehand." The Xiaolai clan's brats have been looking to cause trouble lately. Receiving such a gentle address from XiaoYan for the first time, Xiaoyu was stunned. Her face flushed a bit more. She moved her eyes awkwardly, not knowing what to do. She said, "I ran into Huan Ni when I went out. She said she wanted to come here, so I went with her. I never expected to run into these brats." XiaoYan helplessly shook his head. His gaze shifted to the girl in green, who was smiling broadly because of his arrival. The warmth in his smile intensified. That cursing just now was quite satisfying, wasn't it? Hearing XiaoYan's teasing, Huanni innocently waved her hands. She pouted and said with a slight laugh, I didn't intend to. I just didn't want to see his attitude. You should know that even Brother XiaoYan back then didn't dare to openly seize people on the street. Counterattacked by Huanni, XiaoYan chuckled awkwardly and rubbed his nose. Although he was a bit arrogant back then, he was not nearly as bad as these fellows. Oh, isn't this the Xiao clan's little young master? I haven't seen you in a year. I heard you got rid of the name trash. Looking at the girl he liked talking intimately with XiaoYan, Xiaoya's eye twitched. Driven by jealousy, he let out a sneer. Who is he? Lu Shi's eyes were equally cold. Huanni had previously ignored him, yet she was now chatting and laughing with another man. This kind of blow was truly hard for someone as arrogant as him to accept. Heh heh, brother Lu Shi. This is the Xiao clan's famous genius, named XiaoYan. He cultivated for more than 10 years before, but his dou qi only reached about 3 or 4 segments. But recently, I don't know what he ate, but a few months ago, he directly jumped to 8-segment dou qi. Xiaoyao introduced him with a sinister laugh. A fellow who isn't even a dou practitioner, even if he is a genius. Isn't he still just trash? Lu Shi said with a cold laugh. Hearing Lu Shi's words, Huanni's face turned cold. A golden flame flashed in her autumn water eyes before quickly fading. You are reading the story at Trien Full www.Trien Full. XiaoYan lightly patted Huanni's shoulder. He laughed indifferently and shook his head. He turned back, looked at the white-robed Lu Shi. And his gaze casually swept over the alchemist's badge on his chest. He smiled and said, You must be the one who refined the rejuvenation powder. Lu Shi let out a cold laugh. He puffed out his chest and said arrogantly, That's right. I am the alchemist invited by the Xiaolai clan. XiaoYan feigned sudden realization. He laughed heartily, no wonder. That kind of medicine with such poor efficacy could only be refined by an alchemist like you. You truly live up to your master's teaching. Hearing XiaoYan's words, the surrounding mercenaries watching burst into laughter. Having experienced the Xiaolai clan's price-gouging behavior before, these mercenaries held considerable resentment towards the creator of the rejuvenation powder, Now seeing XiaoYan mocking him right to his face, they all felt a little relieved. The surrounding laughter made Lu Shi's face slowly turn gloomy. His cold eyes stared fixedly at XiaoYan. You are provoking an enemy that your Xiao clan cannot afford to offend. Hearing this, XiaoYan was a little surprised. He gave a bitter laugh, slapped his forehead, and didn't know what more to say to this guy. Did he think he was the personal disciple of a Dou emperor? A first-rank alchemist might be important to the Xiao clan, but saying he cannot be provoked was nothing but a joke. A brain like this can also become an alchemist. Sighing and shaking his head, XiaoYan looked at Huanni with a hint of sympathy. After talking to Lu Shi, he finally understood why the usually gentle and refined Huanni would curse. This guy. XiaoYan didn't want to waste any more words on this somewhat problematic guy. He waved his hand at the more than 10 strong men behind him and said with a smile, Attack. Both master and servant. If they dare to cause trouble in the territory of my Xiao clan, we don't need to be polite. Seeing XiaoYan's movement, Xiaoyao's face changed slightly. He hadn't expected XiaoYan to actually dare to do it. His pupils darted around. He sneered mockingly, I thought you had improved, but it turns out you're still just trash who relies on subordinates. Your taunting skills are still very poor. XiaoYan swung the iron rod in his hand and said softly. If you think it's taunting, then let it be taunting. Trash like you is fundamentally not qualified to be with Miss Huan Ni. XiaoYan sneered. A trace of cold light flashed in his eyes. He said with ill intent, you must have already completed the coming of age ceremony, right? So that means if I challenge you now, you have no reason to refuse, do you? You are truly shameless. XiaoYan is only 17 this year, and you are 23. You dare to utter such a challenge? If you want to fight, let this young mistress fight you instead. Hearing XiaoYan's challenge, Xiaoyu frowned. The whip in her hand struck down, leaving a faint white mark on the ground as she shouted. The corner of XiaoYan's mouth slightly twitched. He sneered, you truly have good fortune. You even have women standing up for you. The weakling who only hides behind women. Damn it, this little pretty boy is too arrogant. Little market master, let us help you deal with him for a bit. Seeing XiaoYan's aggressive manner, some mercenaries who had a good relationship with XiaoYan immediately shouted loudly. Seeing his words cause such a big reaction, XiaoYan's face changed. His strength was only at 3-star Dou practitioner. If he truly enraged everyone, he would be a little afraid in his heart. Glancing at XiaoYan, XiaoYan waved his hand. He laughed coldly, if you don't dare to accept, that's fine. Let's go, brother Lu Shi. A person who doesn't even dare to accept a challenge is not worth paying attention to. Lu Shi nodded with a sinister laugh. His greedy eyes lingered on Huan Ni for a moment. He then looked fiercely at XiaoYan, saying with resentment, brat, you just wait. I want the Xiao clan to willingly deliver her to me. No woman I set my eyes on has ever escaped. Huan Ni glanced indifferently at Lu Shi's lecherous expression. A trace of genuine killing intent finally appeared in her pupils. XiaoYan and Lu Shi turned around. A few Xiao clan strong men with cold expressions had already appeared at the entrance of the market area, blocking the exit like a solid door. I know you really want to cripple me. Well, fine, as you wish. I accept your challenge. Just as XiaoYan was about to signal his people, the youth's faint voice suddenly and slowly rang out from behind. Hearing this, XiaoYan was stunned at first. Then he let out a ferocious laugh. The corner of his mouth slowly curled up, since you want to die, you can't blame me. Slowly turning around, XiaoYan turned his head away. The smile at the corner of his mouth was slightly sinister. Brother Lu Shi, can I please play around with him a bit? Lu Shi smiled and nodded. He secretly gave a thumbs-up gesture with his hand and said with a sinister laugh, if you get the chance, don't hold back. XiaoYan's eyes narrowed with a smile. Lu Shi's words suddenly made him recall a private conversation with XiaoYan. At that time, XiaoYan had just heard the news that XiaoYan had recovered his cultivation talent. His face was gloomy, and after a long silence, he spoke to XiaoYan with extreme seriousness and coldness. If that Xiao clan brat accepts your challenge someday, when you strike, absolutely do not hold back. If you can kill him instantly, that's best. Even if you can't, crippling his arms or legs will also reduce a terrifying enemy for the XiaoYan clan in the future. The image of his father speaking seriously and coldly slowly lingered in his mind. The smile on XiaoYan's face became even more ferocious. His cold gaze glanced at the calm-faced XiaoYan not far away. He could almost predict that this youthful genius would die prematurely in his hands. XiaoYan completely trusted his burst of strength. He was not only a 3-star Dou practitioner now, but he also cultivated the profound rank high level Wind attribute technique, Wine scroll art, Fongwen quiet. Furthermore, he himself mastered several types of Dou skills. He could almost challenge and remain undefeated against an ordinary 5-star Dou practitioner. In comparison, although XiaoYan's cultivation talent had returned, his strength was only 8th segment Do Qi during the coming-of-age ceremony a few months ago. Even if his strength had progressed further during this period, he could not possibly be on par with him. XiaoYan was absolutely confident about this. On the main road, not only XiaoYan thought XiaoYan had no chance of winning, but the surrounding mercenaries watching and Xiaoyu also thought the same. No matter how outstanding XiaoYan's talent was, the gap in rank was too far apart. They did not think anyone could overcome it. This little brat isn't usually very clever. How did he fall for that guy's taunt? Looking at XiaoYan shouldering the iron rod, Xiaoyu's face slightly sank. She took a step forward and said with some resentment and anger, "When did you become so stubborn? Knowing you can't win, why accept the challenge? Do you have a death wish?" Scolded by Xiaoyu, XiaoYan lightly shrugged and smiled. The fight hasn't even started. Who has a death wish is still unknown. You. Looking at XiaoYan's obstinacy, Xiaoyu rubbed her feet resentfully. Her long, sensual legs stepped forward, directly shielding XiaoYan. The green long whip made the air vibrate. "Let me go up instead. I know your potential is very good. But that's for the future." Looking at Xiaoyu's back turned to him, XiaoYan was startled. He hadn't expected this woman, who had always been harsh towards him, to shield him like this in front of outsiders. He was a little puzzled. Then, his gaze slowly moved down from Xiaoyu's shoulder, sweeping past her back, slender, with a perky bottom and a pair of long, sensual legs that could be called perfect. Admiring the perfect curves of the wild woman's back with some astonishment, XiaoYan lightly smacked his mouth. Without waiting for the owner to notice, he quickly retracted his gaze. His head tilted slightly forward, looking as if his chin was resting on Xiaoyu's shoulder. Didn't you wish before that someone would beat me to death?" The sound of his breath reached her ear, causing Xiaoyu's body to instantly tense up. A layer of pink quickly appeared on her soft ears. After a moment, she took a deep breath. A hint of tremor faintly appeared in her calm voice. "You should understand how valuable you are to the clan. Therefore, you cannot casually accept other people's challenges. As your cousin, I have the right to help you fend off some danger." That truly is strange logic. Scratching his head, XiaoYan helplessly waved his hand, "But forget it. My problems, I will resolve myself. Women, just stand aside." Finished speaking. The iron rod in his hand suddenly tightened. His body instantly slipped past Xiaoyu, who was shielding him, and he took a step forward, directly rushing towards XiaoYan. Seeing XiaoYan move, Xiaoyu immediately panicked. She was about to swing the whip in her hand when the voice of the girl beside her stopped her. "Cousin Xiaoyu, trust brother XiaoYan. He is not a reckless person. Without confidence, he wouldn't proactively provoke others." Huan Ni. Turning her head, Xiaoyu looked at the gently smiling Huan Ni. Trembling, she sighed and nodded, but her jade hand still tightly gripped the whip. "Heh, you little brat, today I will make you regret this foolish action." Staring at XiaoYan rushing toward him with the iron rod, XiaoYan laughed coldly. The blue-green Do Qi in his hands rapidly condensed. Standing still, XiaoYan's two palms suddenly curled into fierce claws. At the fingertips, the blue-green Do Qi faintly gathered into 10 sharp claws. Grinning, his claws danced, creating a sound of tearing wind. He fiercely rushed towards XiaoYan. Feeling the faint sound of the sharp claws tearing the air, XiaoYan's eyes narrowed. His left hand suddenly retracted, striking down fiercely at the ground in front of him. An invisible force struck the ground, and the powerful reaction force instantly propelled XiaoYan's body forward. Seeing XiaoYan so flexibly control his speed using the impact force, the surrounding experienced mercenaries watching were momentarily amazed. As his body halted, the iron rod in XiaoYan's hand shot out without hesitation. Like a sharp arrow leaving the bowstring, it shot straight towards Xiaoya's head. Source: https://truyanful.vn. Looking at the rapidly approaching iron rod, Xiaoyao laughed coldly with contempt. A mass of blue-green douqi firmly grasped his hand. His body shook, and the air briefly rippled. Several small, blue-green wind cyclones suddenly appeared out of thin air. The force of the iron rod, after passing through the small wind cyclones, was instantly easily neutralized. Having lost its power, the iron rod fell weakly to the ground. About half a meter from Xiaoyao's head, making a crisp sound. AI. Seeing XiaoYan's attack easily neutralized by the opponent this time, the surrounding crowd instantly sighed helplessly. With such a high-level technique, XiaoYao was almost in an invincible position. Sister, XiaoYan's situation doesn't look too good, ah. Looking at XiaoYan in the arena losing his weapon, Xiaoning said with some anxiety. Xiaoyu's face was gloomy. She said resentfully, "Let him go to hell. He only wants to be a hero. Now look, is it good? He won't become a hero, but he'll lose all face from being bullied." After a moment of silence, Xiaoyu sighed, "Prepare to save him. I see that bastard Xiaoyao seems intent on striking ruthlessly." Xiaoning nodded awkwardly but didn't dare to get involved in her anger. Compared to the uneasy Xiaoyu, Huanni appeared extremely composed. Her pupils glanced at XiaoYan in the arena, who was at a disadvantage. A faint smile arose at the corner of her small mouth. XiaoYan awkwardly leaned back to avoid Xiaoyao's attack. As XiaoYan retreated, the speed boost from the wind attribute technique brought Xiaoyao right after him. His hand was clenched, and he struck down at XiaoYan's head with a solemn, intense force. The wall was suddenly right behind him. Although he couldn't avoid it, XiaoYan's face remained calm. He slowly let out a breath. The pale yellow douqi in his fist surged out fiercely, carrying an unprecedented ferocious force. He finally met Xiaoyao head-on for the first time. Looking at XiaoYan unexpectedly choosing to confront Xiaoyao directly, the surrounding crowd immediately burst into an uproar. The difference in rank between the two was clearly too vast. If XiaoYan had continued to dodge, he might have lasted longer, but choosing a direct confrontation would undoubtedly lead to an instant defeat. Just as everyone was regretting for XiaoYan's clenched fist suddenly opened. A powerful pushing force instantly appeared, violently striking Xiaoyao's chest from a distance. His chest was struck by the strange force. Xiaoyao's body, which was rushing forward with great force, was instantly knocked back. His face was pale, and his pupils were filled with ferocity. He cried out in surprise, "What Dou skill is this? Why is it so mysterious?" Seeing Xiaoyao suddenly and bizarrely shoot backward in midair, the entire arena looked shocked. Suction palm. XiaoYan opened his palm, aiming straight at Xiaoyao, who was being propelled backward. XiaoYan's eyes were extremely sharp, choosing the best possible timing. Instantly, a wild suction force pulled Xiaoyao fiercely back. Like a leather ball being tossed back and forth in midair, Xiaoyao was utterly enraged. He gritted his teeth, watching XiaoYan getting closer and closer. A trace of viciousness faintly appeared on his face. He clenched his right fist. The blue-green douqi outside his fist rapidly condensed, finally forming a large stream, low-level profound rank Dou skill, Azure Wind Swirl Fist. The fist generated a sound of tearing wind in midair. The immense pressure actually blew away all the debris around XiaoYan. Narrowing his eyes, feeling the fierce wind pressure closing in, XiaoYan's face gradually became solemn. His still body instantly twisted. His right foot fiercely struck the wall. The tremendous force left a footprint half an inch deep on the hard wall. relying on the reaction force. XiaoYan's body rapidly spun in midair. His right leg formed a bizarre arc. At this moment, his soft trouser leg seemed as rigid as steel. 8 extremities collapse, tightening his mouth. XiaoYan's face was cold. After his right leg completed its near-perfect power accumulation in midair, it finally fiercely clashed with Xiaoyao's heavy fist before the eyes of the crowd. Don't think you are the only 3-star Dou practitioner. The moment the fist and kick clashed, the yellow Dou Qi on XiaoYan's right thigh rapidly surged out. His voice was calm and soft, causing Xiaoyao's face to change drastically. Boom! The fist and kick met. A dull roar like thunder spread from the point of contact. Crack! The sound of bones breaking immediately followed the initial clash. XiaoYan and Xiaoyao's bodies were both simultaneously thrown backward. His body heavily struck the wall behind him. XiaoYan's throat felt sweet, and he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of fresh blood, spotting the ground. Seeing XiaoYan spit blood, the surrounding mercenaries sighed in regret. However, just as they thought XiaoYan had lost, XiaoYao, who had been thrown to the ground, suddenly clutched his right arm, and let out a heart-wrenching wail as he rolled on the ground. At this moment, there were quite a few sharp-eyed people watching. When they saw Xiaoyao's arm was nearly twisted and deformed, they gasped in cold air, their faces filled with shock. The street, which had been bustling, suddenly fell silent at this moment. Shocked gazes stared at the youth who was panting heavily beneath the wall. After a long while, sounds of immense cheers rang out. Xiaoyu's small pink mouth slightly opened. She looked at Xiaoyao, wailing miserably on the ground with disbelief, and said in astonishment, "This little brat, did he actually win? It seems that his arm was shattered by XiaoYan." Xiaoning swallowed. XiaoYan's merciless strike made him recall his own miserable state last time, but Xiaoyao's current state was clearly 10 times more tragic than his then. Looking at Xiaoyao's bones nearly piercing through his skin, Xiaoning knew that this person's arm was mostly crippled. Hearing Xiaoning's confirmation, Xiaoyu was silent for a long while. She fiercely glared at XiaoYan, who was still panting heavily, so that little brat had already advanced to Dou practitioner. No wonder he wasn't afraid. Sitting on the ground for more than 10 minutes, XiaoYan slowly managed to stand up. His cold gaze swept over Lu Shi, who was gaping in shock not far away. He dragged his numb right leg, picked up the iron rod on the side, and walked determinedly towards Xiaoyao, who was still wailing on the ground. Xiaoyao's strike just now had revealed his killing intent towards him. Towards someone who wanted his life, XiaoYan would likewise not show any meaningless compassion. Lying on the ground, looking at XiaoYan getting closer and closer, Xiaoyao's face was filled with panic besides his hatred. Swallowing a mouthful of saliva, he also saw the killing intent in XiaoYan's eyes, and quickly said, "I admit defeat." XiaoYan's face was expressionless, as if he hadn't heard anything. The iron rod in his hand clenched even tighter. Looking at the youth's cold expression in the arena, even some mercenaries who lived with blood and blades found him ruthless. The current XiaoYan was difficult to reconcile with the youth, who smiled all day long before. You are reading the story at https://truyanful.vn. Stopping his steps, XiaoYan looked down at Xiaoyao. He suddenly grinned. His clean, white teeth, however, made the cold air rush out of Xiaoyao's heart. Only now did he realize that this youth, who usually concealed himself under a gentle appearance, was actually more ruthless than him in his heart. Die, you useless thing. Smiling lightly, the killing intent in XiaoYan's pitch-black pupils surged. The iron rod in his hand created a tearing sound in the air, fiercely striking down towards Xiaoyao's head. Seeing XiaoYan strike without mercy, Xiaoyao's face turned pale. Panic covered his entire face. On the intersection, seeing Xiaoyan about to bleed instantly, everyone gasped in cold air. XiaoYan's swift and decisive action left a lasting impression on many onlookers. Xiaoyu's small, pink mouth slightly opened. Her entire body stiffened in place. XiaoYan's willingness to kill instantly completely shattered her previous image of his mild temperament. Xiaoyu could never have imagined that this youth, who usually joked and played with her, would be so terrifying when he acted viciously. Everyone's eyes followed the iron rod in XiaoYan's hand. However, just as the iron rod was about half a meter from Xiaoyan's head, a shout, like a clap of thunder, suddenly rang out at the intersection. "Xiao clan brat, it was merely a sparring match. How dare you strike so ruthlessly?" Hearing the shout filled with rage, XiaoYan's eyes narrowed. A cold smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. The iron rod in his hand not only did not stop, but the force intensified as it struck down. "Get out of my way." XiaoYan's action clearly provoked the person's rage. Amidst the angry curse, a sharp force tore through the air with a howl. Like a flash of lightning, it slashed across the iron rod. Instantly, the hard iron rod snapped into two pieces. The cut surface was as smooth as a mirror. You are reading the story at https://truyanful.vn. Seeing the iron rod easily cut into two halves, XiaoYan's face subtly changed. He clenched his teeth. A vicious thought arose in his heart. Just as he was about to use the remaining half of the iron rod in his hand to stab Xiaoyan's throat, the blue-green force closed in again. The fierce pressure actually made XiaoYan pant slightly. His pupils slightly contracted. He tried to force the iron rod down, but it was as if isolated by an invisible wind membrane. No matter what he did, he couldn't stab down. The corner of his mouth twitched. XiaoYan held the iron rod tightly with his right hand. His body sprung up, suddenly spinning around. The iron rod in his hand left his grip, turning into a black shadow that fiercely shot towards the figure. Humph! Seeing XiaoYan daring to attack him, the figure snorted coldly. His two hands curled into claws. He waved them in front of him. A dense blue-green douqi formed several pale blue energy wind blades. Fingers flicked and the wind blades shot out, cutting the iron rod into more than 10 pieces of scrap iron. So young, yet so vicious. Today, I will teach you a lesson on behalf of XiaoYan. After shattering the iron rod, the figure laughed coldly. On his two palms, a blue-green douqi rapidly condensed. A wind swirl formed beneath his feet. Then, in midair, his body shot down like a cannonball towards XiaoYan. Waving his hand, another pale blue douqi wind blade suddenly appeared, aggressively shooting towards XiaoYan. The fierce pressure generated by the wind blade blew away all the debris on the ground, leaving no dust behind. "Teach me a lesson. What right do you have, you piece of garbage? You should manage your own son properly." XiaoYan laughed coldly and shook his head. He had recognized the person from the douqi attribute as Xiaoyan's father, Bai. With a calm expression, he watched the approaching wind blade. When it was only about 5 meters from his head, XiaoYan struck the ground with a palm. An invisible force erupted. Upon contact with the ground, it instantly shot XiaoYan's body backward into the air. His body flipped in midair, then steadily landed on an empty space 10 meters in front. The wind blade missed. With a swoosh sound, it left a cut more than 1 inch deep on the hard flagstone. "Father, kill him." Looking at the figure descending from the air, Xiaoyan's face was ecstatic, and he shouted venomously. Landing on the ground, Bai's face was gloomy. Looking at Xiaoyan's arm, his face twitched. Killing intent flashed intensely in his eyes. Without replying, he took a step, once again rushing fiercely towards XiaoYan. Let me test the genius of the Xiao clan to see what is so outstanding about him. From the moment Xiao Bai appeared until XiaoYan quickly retreated, it was only a moment's time. But the crowd clearly saw that Xiao Bai actually used the identity of a great Dou master to ambush a youthful Dou practitioner. Whispers of disapproval immediately filled the air. Damn it, old dog Xiao, how dare a melon like you strike a junior? Seeing Xiao Bai ignore the difference in their status and charge forward again, XiaoYan's face finally became somewhat unpleasant. He immediately cursed loudly. Brat, you crippled my son's arm. You think you can leave safely? It's not that easy. Xiao Bai took a step. His body appeared like a ghostly wind right above XiaoYan's head. A hint of ferocity appeared on his expressionless face. He tightly clenched his hand. The dense blue-green Dou Qi above his fist rapidly condensed into a large stream. I can't believe it. He's actually using a profound ranked Dou skill. Old dog Xiao, you have completely disgraced the Xiao clan. Feeling the wild energy contained in Xiao Bai's fist, XiaoYan's face became extremely unpleasant. He subtly rubbed the black ring on his finger with one hand. Not far away, looking at XiaoYan trapped in danger, Huanni's small face subtly changed. She slowly let out a soft breath. In her clear pupils, a golden flame slowly ignited. A stream of faint golden Dou Qi also began to condense on her hand, ready to unleash a fierce force. However, just as XiaoYan was preparing to save himself, and Huanni was about to strike, a furious voice suddenly exploded on the street again. Damn it, old dog Xiao, since when did my Xiaozhan's son need a bastard like you to teach him a lesson? As the shout rang out, a red figure rushed in from outside. He fiercely stomped his foot. His body instantly appeared in front of XiaoYan. He raised his head and roared loudly. In the roar, the faint sound of a lion's roar could be heard. Lion mountain splitting. With a cold expression, XiaoYan tightly clenched his iron fist and struck towards Xiao Bai above his head. A large red lion's head faintly appeared on his fist. Boom! The blue-green and red clashed. A thunderous roar erupted, causing the ears of most people on the street to ring. In midair, the two people's bodies shook from the clash. Their bodies violently retreated. As XiaoYan retreated, he conveniently grabbed XiaoYan and pulled him behind him. His steps quickly retreated a few steps on the ground. Every step left a visible footprint on the hard flagstone. Thus, one could see how strong the force of the clash between the two sides was. Neutralizing the force, XiaoYan looked coldly at Xiao Bai not far away and laughed coldly. Xiao Bai, you truly act like a dog now, striking at a junior. Xiao Bai's face was gloomy. The corner of his mouth twitched. He pointed at Xiao Ao on the ground and said coldly, he beat my son into this state. XiaoYan, you must give me justice today. Justice? What bullshit justice? If my son hadn't been quick-witted just now, the person lying on the ground would have been him. At that time, would I not have demanded justice from you? XiaoYan sneered and cursed loudly. This challenge was initiated by your son. Everyone here can testify. Furthermore, in a challenge, a broken arm or leg is very normal. Why are you so surprised? XiaoYan's face slowly became composed. He said with a smile. You. Xiao Bai's face twitched violently a few times. Looking at the teasing eyes, he knew it was impossible to strike XiaoYan today. Therefore he gritted his teeth and said, don't let me get the chance or else. Those words I should return to you. Smiling, a fierce light flashed in XiaoYan's eyes as well. Good, good, wait and see. Laughing out of extreme anger, Xiao Bai stepped forward and tucked XiaoYan, who was still wailing painfully, under his arm. He turned and left. As he walked past Lu Shi, seeing his gaping expression, the anger in his heart surged again. He took a deep breath and said angrily, "Mr. Lu Shi, let's go." And that girl? Lu Shi's unwilling gaze turned towards Huan Ni not far away. The corner of XiaoYan's eye twitched violently a few times. He was almost tempted to smash this woman-obsessed idiot to death right there. Tightly clenching his fist, after a moment, he forced a grim smile. "We'll discuss this matter after we return." All right." Looking at XiaoYan's pained expression, Lu Shi could only nod unwillingly. His lewd eyes swept over Huan Ni's exquisite figure once more before he reluctantly followed XiaoYan away. Watching XiaoYan's group leave awkwardly, XiaoYan laughed coldly. His eyes swept over XiaoYan, who had a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. His eyes slowly softened. He heavily patted his shoulder. He suddenly smacked his lips and said regretfully, "You brat wasn't ruthless enough. XiaoYan only has one son. If you had finished XiaoYan quickly, XiaoYan would have gone mad today. And if he went mad, the three elders ambushing outside would have an excuse to gang up and kill him. TSK, what a pity." Hearing this, XiaoYan was surprised. He rolled his eyes helplessly. Huan Ni and Xiaoyu on the side had their faces flushed red by these words. Hearing XiaoYan's words, the surrounding mercenaries felt their scalps tingle. No wonder the son was so ruthless. It turned out the father was even more cunning. On the pitch-black night sky, the silver moon hung high. Moonlight gently covered the ground with a layer of silver gauze, looking utterly mysterious. After the commotion during the day, Wuten City fell into a period of darkness and silence in the deep night. In some rooms on the streets, the occasional sound of a man's heavy breathing and a woman's weak moaning could be heard. Improper, very sinful DG. Xiao Clan, in the back courtyard room, the youth lay face up on the bed. In his pitch-black pupils, like the night sky, a cold light suddenly surged. "Master, what is your extreme strength in this current state?" Silent for a long while, XiaoYan suddenly asked softly. "Why do you ask?" A casual question came from within the black ring. After a moment, Yao Lao said vaguely, "Although I am only in a soul state now, relying on the heavenly flame, dealing with a few great Do masters or Do spiritual small fries shouldn't be a problem." Hearing this, XiaoYan's face showed a hint of pleasant surprise. A trace of coldness flashed in his eyes. "You want to go kill that brat from during the day?" Seeing XiaoYan's appearance, Yao Lao asked with some surprise. "XiaoYan is not worth that much concern from me." XiaoYan smiled. He said softly and indifferently, "The 2-month time limit is almost up. I'm already impatient with the XiaoYan clan. Therefore, I think I'll secretly take care of that alchemist, Lu Shi. As long as he dies, the XiaoYan clan will have no one to refine wound medicine, and they will lose the market. At that time, even if the clan can survive, their power will also decline. They will no longer pose a threat to the Xiao clan." "Oh, is it really because you're impatient? With your personality, you don't seem like the type to be rash, ah." Silent for a moment, Yao Lao's teasing voice came from the ring. "It seems you truly care deeply about that girl named Huan Ni. That fellow just acted a little lewd, and you already harbor resentment in your heart. You truly are a child who likes to eat vinegar." "Ah." Hearing this, XiaoYan's face flushed slightly. Exposed, he immediately felt a little embarrassed and angry. "I don't have much time. How can I afford to play around with them? Even if I hadn't met that guy today, I would have used other means." All right, then we won't talk about that girl." Seeing XiaoYan's reaction, Yao Lao laughed loudly a few times. The laughter was full of teasing, making XiaoYan roll his eyes helplessly. If you want to act, then act. I am in a soul state, so I will borrow your body. Stopping the teasing, Yao Lao said with a smile. Nodding hurriedly, XiaoYan quickly jumped off the bed. He took out the dark red storage ring from his chest. Then, he took out a set of pitch-black, large cloaks that had been prepared long ago. Extremely skillfully, he draped the cloak over himself. Instantly, the youth's originally thin figure transformed into the imposing figure of the mysterious black-robed person. Let's go. You don't need to do anything. Just let me control your body. With my soul enveloping you, you don't need to worry about being recognized by your aura. Seeing XiaoYan ready, Yao Lao reminded him. With a smile. Nodding, XiaoYan quickly walked to the window. Like a thief, he looked around. Only then did he leap out, descending rapidly from the air. A surge of powerful force emanated from the ring on his finger. The mysterious force quickly enveloped XiaoYan's entire body. Instantly, his rapidly descending body suddenly floated in midair. Tapping his feet lightly, the black figure flew away from the Xiao clan like a hidden eagle in the darkness, finally disappearing into the faint night. The sky is bright and the moon is clear tonight. It's a good time for killing. Jialai clan. Can Mr. Lushi truly refine other pills? In the brightly lit hall, Jialai Bai's mood was extremely gloomy. Hearing Lushi's smug voice in front of him, he was startled at first, then asked happily. Perfectly satisfied seeing Jialai Bai's mixed look of joy and fear, Lushi picked up the teacup beside him and took a sip. His face was slightly arrogant. Besides wound medicine, I can also refine a kind of pill extremely suitable for mercenaries, called the strength condensing pill, Sili Huan. It can temporarily increase the user's strength by about 10%. Hearing this, the joy on Jialai Bai's face intensified. If they could truly refine this kind of special pill, the Jialai clan could use it for advertising. They could recover quite a bit of popularity, and in the end, perhaps they could even suppress the Xiao clan again. However, this strength-condensing pill cannot be refined on a large scale like wound medicine. With my strength, I fear I can only refine about 20 pills a day at most. Lushi said with a hint of regret. 20 pills it is. We can auction them off. A high price is fine. Wound medicine is the main product anyway. We only use this to recover popularity. Jialai Bai waved his hand and smiled. Clan leader Jialai, I can indeed refine this strength condensing pill, but according to our agreement, I am only responsible for refining wound medicine, right? Seeing the strength condensing pill successfully hooked Jialai Bai's interest, Lushi's eyes flashed. He suddenly said with a smile. Jialai Bai's face slightly changed. How could an old fox like him not know this person's intention? However, at this moment, he forced a dry laugh and asked, then what is Mr. Lushi's suggestion? Don't worry. I know the Jialai clan's current situation, so I won't be greedy. Seeing Jialai Bai sigh, Lushi's eyes flashed. With a hint of lust, I only want to ask clan leader Jialai to assist me in bringing that girl named XiaoYan to me. The smile on his face froze. Jialai Bai's eyes twitched violently. He hadn't expected this fellow to be so brazen, aiming his intentions directly at the Xiao clan. Mr. Lushi, if our Jialai clan moves against someone from the Xiao clan, XiaoYan will have an excuse to declare war directly on our Jialai clan. At that time, I fear it won't be just an economic duel, but a real exchange of blades. Jialai Bai sighed and said with a bitter laugh. Tapping his finger on the table, Lushi chuckled, that's not my concern. Whether the clan leader prepares to snatch her forcefully or uses a love potion to bring her to me, I only want the result. As long as the clan leader can bring her to me, I will refine the strength condensing pill at any time. The corner of his eye twitched violently again. Even though Jialai Bai was extremely angry, He could only smile and say, "How about I think about it? Can I give the gentleman an answer tomorrow?" Heh, that's fine. Clan leader, think about it. If I may say one thing, the Jiaolai clan and the Xiao clan are already like fire and water. Why fear one more grudge? Lu Shi stood up with a smiling voice. He patted his butt and swaggered out of the main hall, quickly walking towards his room in the back courtyard. Tonight, the pure, lotus-like girl had ignited the lust in his heart, and he urgently needed to find a beautiful maid to cool off. Looking at Lu Shi disappearing around the corner, Jiaolai Bai's face was gloomy. After a long while, he sighed and said flatly, "This kind of bastard whose head is filled with women will eventually die because of women." In a room in the back courtyard, XiaoYan looked with some helplessness at the beautiful maid lying unconscious on the bed, only covered by a thin nightgown, a large expanse of captivating white skin exposed. "That fellow is back." Yao Lao's soft voice came from within the ring. XiaoYan quickly retreated to a secret corner. His eyes peered through a tiny gap, taking in everything in the room. Creaked. The wooden door was slowly pushed open. Lu Shi's signature smile and lustful voice rang in the room. "Ha ha, my little treasure, I'm back. Prepare to be tormented tonight." He truly is an idiot whose brain is filled with lust. Yao Lao, prepare to strike. XiaoYan laughed coldly and said inwardly, "Good. Wait, there's a development." Before he could finish the word good, Yao Lao shouted urgently, startling XiaoYan inwardly. Cold sweat appeared on his forehead from Yao Lao's sudden warning. XiaoYan's body stiffened, and he didn't dare to move. Source: Triunful. To the left. Yao Lao's soft voice came again in his mind. Hearing the warning, XiaoYan slowly turned his head, directing his gaze towards the window on the left side of the room. His pupils suddenly contracted. The originally tightly shut window had been opened at some point. Faint moonlight spilled in. In just a flash, a girl wearing a golden battle dress was sitting bizarrely on the windowsill. Beneath the golden dress, a pair of snow-white, smooth jade legs formed a captivating curve in the air. The faint moonlight shone on the girl's small, exquisite face, making her look like a beautiful and mysterious moon goddess. Looking at the girl who had appeared out of nowhere, XiaoYan suddenly felt his throat tighten. His voice was nearly a whimper in his heart. Huan Ni. Staring blankly at the girl who had appeared like a ghost on the windowsill, after a long while, XiaoYan whispered suspiciously, "What is she doing here?" Heh. Looking at the situation, it seems her goal is the same as yours, ah. Yao Lao chuckled vaguely. Frowning, XiaoYan fully retreated his body into the darkness. He then asked with some hesitation. Huan Ni's strength. How did it become so powerful? Judging by her speed of appearance, she is probably no weaker than a great Do master. Her true strength is indeed as you usually see. But she is clearly using a kind of secret technique that temporarily increases her strength. With her background and status, possessing this kind of miraculous secret technique is not surprising. Yao Lao said with a calm laugh. Hearing this, XiaoYan was slightly surprised. He then gave a bitter laugh. He couldn't help but once again sigh at Huan Ni's mysterious background. He didn't pursue the topic. His gaze pierced through the curtain in front of him, staring intently at the slightly bizarre room. Inside the room, Huan Ni's ghostly appearance had yet to draw Lu Shi's attention. This fellow, with lust clouding his mind, his eyes shining, stared fixedly at the beautiful woman on the bed, whose figure was completely exposed. He nervously took off his own clothes. Just at this moment, Lu Shi's hands, which were taking off his clothes, suddenly stiffened. As a six-segment Do practitioner, he finally noticed something was wrong. He hesitated for a moment, then slowly turned his neck, his gaze fixed on the wide-open window. On the windowsill, the girl in the golden battle dress leaned lazily. A pair of eyes with faintly flickering golden flames looked indifferently at the men in the room with disheveled clothes. On her fair hands, a golden flame danced like a spirit, following a bizarre trajectory. Lu Shi stared blankly at the girl. In the moonlight, he slowly moved his eyes, stopping at her small, cold, and exquisite face. His pupils involuntarily showed signs of intoxication, although he knew the situation was critical. Every time he faced this girl's flawless beauty and ethereal, unworldly aura, Lu Shi couldn't help but be a little distracted. But in just a flash, Lu Shi suddenly turned around. He fiercely stomped his foot on the floor. His body shot out like an arrow, frantically rushing towards the main door. In this bizarre atmosphere, the cold feeling of approaching death finally extinguished all the lust in him. Although Lu Shi was arrogant, he didn't truly believe that the girl who appeared so bizarrely would come to him to chat. Although the room was quite large with Lu Shi's speed, the distance from the bed to the door was only a few seconds. Seeing the door so close, a look of joy flashed in Lu Shi's eyes. As long as he escaped the room, he could shout loudly. At that time, XiaoYan would surely hear the cries for help and rush over for rescue. However, just as Lu Shi touched the door, his legs suddenly felt a sharp pain. His rapidly fleeing body instantly stumbled, and he finally slammed heavily onto the floor. Several teeth, along with fresh blood, were spat out by Lu Shi. Looking down in terror, he saw 2 fist-sized bloody holes on his legs. The edges were charred black, and a faint smell of burning flesh diffused out. Help! Someone is trying to assassinate me. The pain in Lu Shi's thighs nearly made him faint, but at this moment, he bit his teeth and shouted desperately. It's useless. The room has been enveloped by my aura. No one can hear you. The girl on the windowsill said calmly. She subtly flicked her finger. A sharp, golden flame spike instantly formed at her fingertip. It seemed Lu Shi's leg injuries were caused by this object. You. What exactly do you want? What do you want? Money? Pills? I'll give you anything, just spare me. Lu Shi's face was pale as he looked at the terrified girl. The threat of death finally extinguished his lust. Indifferently glancing at Lu Shi constantly struggling on the floor, the girl lightly jumped off the windowsill. She walked slowly and gently. Seeing Huan Ni jump off the windowsill, XiaoYan finally noticed that Huan Ni's black hair originally only reached her waist, but now it hung down to her bottom, clearly a result of that miraculous secret technique. In the large room, the girl in the golden battle dress, symbolizing nobility, indifferently walked towards Lu Shi on the floor, who was continuously wailing. When she reached him, she stopped. She lowered her head and suddenly smiled gently. The smile on her face startled Lu Shi and filled his heart with fear. Didn't you want your people to capture me? Huan Ni said slowly. A trace of faint coldness was hidden in her gentle voice. Lu Shi swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Cold sweat poured down his face. Because of the extreme fear, his face was completely drenched in sweat. I actually hate to kill people. Looking at Lu Shi's terrified expression, Huan Ni suddenly sighed softly. Hearing this, a ray of hope flashed in Lu Shi's eyes, but before he could speak to beg for mercy, the girl suddenly laughed coldly, throwing him into the abyss of despair. I actually don't mind some meaningless gazes, but why did you have to insult him? What gives you the right to insult him? Although he might not care about a piece of dust like you. I cannot. I truly cannot. As the girl's tone suddenly turned cold, the golden flame spike suddenly left her hand. It instantly turned into a golden flash that fiercely stabbed into Lu Shi's chest. Instantly, a bloody hole quickly appeared. Hit by a fatal blow, Lu Shi's pupils contracted. His pale face slowly darkened. His eyes were wide open, looking extremely terrifying. Indifferently. Glancing at the corpse slowly losing its life force, Huanyi straightened her body. She let out a soft sigh. A look of helplessness appeared on her cold small face. She murmured softly. If I weren't afraid Brother XiaoYan would blame me for interfering too much, this Wuten city would have long been without the Jiaolai clan. There wouldn't be so many troubles like this. Gently shaking her head, Huanyi's gaze casually swept the room. Her body subtly moved, and she reappeared on the windowsill. Her soft body leaped, finally vanishing into the darkness. TSK. This girl looks gentle and captivating, but I didn't think that once she decides to kill, she would be so decisive and ruthless. Heh, it seems you have found a treasure this time. Yao Lao's teasing voice rang out in XiaoYan's mind not long after Huanyi vanished. XiaoYan laughed bitterly and shook his head. He sighed, it seems I came for nothing tonight, ah. Heh. Not necessarily. Although that girl struck ruthlessly, she is still too young and inexperienced. Yao Lao said with a calm laugh. Hearing this, XiaoYan was startled. He asked in surprise. What does that mean? Just wait and see. Yao Lao chuckled mysteriously, then suddenly fell silent. Seeing Yao Lao's manner, XiaoYan could only shake his head helplessly. He continued to retreat into the darkness, his eyes fixed on every movement in the room. In the dimly lit room, aside from the breathing of the unconscious maid on the bed, it was completely silent. Waiting for more than 10 minutes again, XiaoYan's eyebrows began to furrow. But when his eyes casually fell upon Lu Shi's corpse, they suddenly contracted. At the main door, Lu Shi, who was originally lifeless, had a subtle tremor in his hand. It was almost undetectable. After a moment, his closed eyes slowly opened. The gloom on his face surprisingly receded considerably. Hiss! Looking at the bloody hole on his chest, Lu Shi subtly inhaled a breath of cold air. His eyes were filled with venom. That damned woman. If I hadn't secretly stolen a qi-restoring pill from my master before leaving, I would truly have died here today. Struggling to reach out, Lu Shi took a small jade bottle from his chest. He carefully poured out some white powder and sprinkled it on the wound. He then took out a piece of pale green pill, swallowing it without hesitation. After completing these small actions, Lu Shi's face turned even paler. This severe injury will probably take me half a year to fully recover. Tomorrow, I will ask the Jiaolai clan to send me back to invite my master. As long as my master assists me, the Xiao clan absolutely won't survive for another day. At that time, I will play with that woman until she dies. Biting his teeth ferociously, Lu Shi's pale face was filled with hatred. Sorry to interrupt, but you probably won't get the chance to return. Just as Lu Shi was fantasizing about the noble girl's tragic state under his abuse, a calm laugh suddenly rang out in the room. The sudden sound caused Lu Shi's body to stiffen. His face instantly changed. He struggled to turn his head. A figure completely shrouded beneath a black cloak slowly walked out of the darkness like a ghost. This fierce girl, it seems she still needs me to clean up her mess, ah. A youth's voice came from beneath the black cloak. His hand lightly reached out, and a bizarre white flame slowly appeared. Heavenly flame. Seeing the bizarre white flame, Lu Shi's pupils contracted. He exclaimed in terror. Congratulations, you answered correctly. Here's your reward. Smiling, the black-robed person waved his hand. The white flame instantly left his hand and shot out like lightning, enveloping Lu Shi. In just a short time, Lu Shi was quickly burned into a pile of ashes before he could even scream. From this day forward, the name Lu Shi, the first-rank alchemist, completely vanished from this continent. Coldly dusting his hand, the black-robed person waved his hand. A force swept away the ashes on the floor. Only then did he leisurely jump onto the windowsill, flying away into the air. Leaving the Xiaolai clan without any commotion, the black-robed person tapped his foot lightly. His body, having flown several tens of meters, suddenly halted. He sighed helplessly and slowly raised his head. On the roof opposite him, not far away, the girl in the golden battle dress was casually swinging her smooth, white legs. Her pupils, containing a faint golden flame, stared fixedly at the black-robed person who had stopped above. Who exactly are you? Her elegant finger brushed away the hair on her forehead that was fluttering in the night wind. The girl raised her chin. Her soft voice slowly lingered in the small space.